From the Qatari Prime Minister, he says this is an outright violation of the UN Charter of Article 2.4, which prohibits explicitly the threat or the use of force against the territorial integrity or the political sovereignty of any member state. And the Qataris are saying, by doing what it did Israel back on Tuesday, it has violated Qatar's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Why should it not be seen that way?
No. Because it's a lie from the Qatari Prime Minister or leader you just quoted. Qatar is a state that sponsors terrorism, that finances the Muslim Brotherhood, that is the main source of terror and instability in the Middle East. It funds the Hamas, it hosts them, and Hamas are terrorists. It's a terrorist organization recognized as such by most governments in the world. It funds the anti-Western and Muslim Brotherhood propaganda via Al Jazeera, and because it hosts the Hamas terrorists, it was a legitimate target, the same way, by the way, that Osama bin Laden was a legitimate target after doing 9/11, and today is 9/11, today is September 11, even though technically, yes, the United States violated the sovereignty of Pakistan, but Pakistan was hosted a terrorist the same way as Qatar was hosting the Hamas terrorists.
But Dr. Navon, I'm no fan of Qatar, but the point is that the Hamas office in Doha was opened at the behest of the United States. The attack happened right in the heart of Doha. If that is not a violation of territorial integrity and sovereignty, and by the way, why are Israeli negotiators traveling to Qatar? They've traveled in the last 2 years, almost 2 years since the October 7th attacks, innumerable occasions to Qatar, because Qatar is one of the primary mediators to try and find a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. If it was a terror state, why are your diplomats traveling there?
Well, why is that any different from the United States eliminating Osama bin Laden in Pakistan? I don't understand. When a country hosts terrorists, it becomes a legitimate target of eliminating those terrorists. And by the way, talking about the UN Charter, the UN Charter also recognizes the right of self-defense in Article 51. And eliminating terrorists in a country that hosts them is an act of self-defense.
So why were you engaging with Qatari negotiators for the better part of the last 2 years if they are members representing a terrorist state?
Well, because the world is not black and white, sir. Qatar had and still has a lot of leverage on Hamas, and the only way we could approach Hamas to try and liberate our hostages was to talk to those evil people. Unfortunately, there was no other way.
So it was fine to talk to them for 2 years, use their mediation services for 2 years, and then finally attack them on their own soil.
Well, I think that this operation should have taken place much earlier. I'm sorry that it took 2 years to get rid of the Hamas leadership in Qatar, because if you remember, on October 7th, this whole leadership was filmed in Qatar praying and praising the attack of October 7th. Basically, those people were celebrating the burning alive, the beheading and the rape of Israelis.
What do you say to the argument that the Qatari Prime Minister has also said that now Israel's pretty much lost any chance of saving its hostages?
He's a hypocrite, because there was no chance of saving them via negotiations, because Qatar is not an honest broker. Qatar is siding and supporting one of the sides, which is Hamas. And Qatar was never, unfortunately, a reliable broker. It has been able to...
If it comes true, God forbid, if it comes true that the remaining 20-odd hostages who Israel believes are alive in Gaza are killed because of this attack that Israel carried out on Qatar, then who is to take the fault for it? Is it Benjamin Netanyahu who ordered those strikes? Is it the Prime Minister of Qatar who hosted Hamas?
It is Hamas.
Or is it the Hamas negotiator that you failed to kill? Who takes responsibility for those hostages if they are killed?
Sir, who kidnapped them? Israel did not kidnap them. They were kidnapped by Hamas. They're the one holding them, and Hamas has been refusing any compromise in the past few months. And by the way, the one part of the fault comes to Western leaders who decided a couple of months ago to reward Hamas with the recognition of a so-called Palestinian state, which led Hamas to basically strengthen its position and say, well, we're not to negotiate because we just had this amazing diplomatic achievement. So if you want to know why Hamas is not negotiating anymore, go ask Emmanuel Macron, Keir Starmer, and
what about Donald Trump? He says it was not his decision; it was squarely Mr. Netanyahu's decision alone. What do you have to say to him?
He's right. Israel made that decision, that correct decision. The government of Israel, by the way, not only Netanyahu, we are a parliamentary system. The decision was made by the Israeli cabinet. It was an Israeli operation. It was not an American one. By the way, unlike
the fallout and the responsibility for the fallout of that attack, if it leads to, God forbid, again, and no one wants the hostages, any harm on the hostages, but if the fallout of this attack is the death of these hostages, that is somehow not on Netanyahu, not on his cabinet.
You keep blaming Israel for the fate of those hostages. Again, they've been kidnapped by Hamas with the support of Qatar, right? It is Hamas who is holding them, who kidnapped them, and is holding them, and is refusing to release them. So Israel has no other choice but to defeat this evil organization, and that's why we have our soldiers in Gaza risking their lives to try and rescue them. Who is going to rescue them?
Dr.
Not
Navon,
Qatar, not Hamas,
we wish you all the very best, and I hope those